Got Robert O'Neill with me. He's one of the most highly decorated veterans, combat veterans of our time. He served in SEAL Team 2, SEAL Team 4, and 8 years in the legendary SEAL Team 6. And not a side note, he killed Osama bin Laden. And what I want to know, and well, thank you, firstly, for joining me. I truly appreciate you spending your time with me, Robert.
Well, thank you for having me, Elizabeth. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And the question in this series that I'm doing is Kamala's America. What are the nightmare scenarios? And I've gotten some really amazing answers, in-depth answers. And I thought with you, Robert, that I would like to start first and foremost is how does your background in special forces, all of those years, the rigor, the clarity that must come with being on the battlefield in these kinds of situations, being in the military, how has that affected the way you look at this election, at Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as the Democrat nominees? Just start us off that way. Give us your background and how it affects the way you're thinking about this.
We used to say the best way to success is to keep it simple, and that's the truth. If you can master the basics, you can be good at anything. Long-term goals are achieved by short-term goals. So instead of thinking I need to graduate this course in 9 months, it should be my next goal is to make it to breakfast, and that's it. It's that simple. So keeping it simple is not. If don't talk yourself into an ass whooping is the way I say it. So keep it simple. It's almost like sales. When someone says yes, stop selling. When you're done saying what you're saying, stop saying it. So the simplicity of this, and when people ask me why I'm voting for Trump, is because it's very simple. A secure border. That's it. And this last administration is going to be, if Kamala Harris wins, that administration will actually be being run by the same people that are running the Biden administration, whoever that is right now. I mean, it's not Kamala Harris and it's not Joe Biden. Who is it? I mean, we're setting up for World War III. We got carrier strike groups off of Iran. We've got Ukraine and Russia. Who's running the show? Also, why is our border open, and why are we getting people from over 70 countries into this border? Why are we getting hundreds of thousands of criminals across the border? The reason that's most important to me is because of the terrorists. They have not forgotten about us. And terrorists say to us, the Americans have the clock, but we have the time. With open borders, Democrats are doing it for political reasons so they can get more votes, so they can stay in power personally. That's it. For me, it's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, God forbid, Boko Haram, crossing this border because they're told how to by the algorithm at TikTok, by the Democrats. And for me, that comes down to meeting them again face to face. My friends and I went to Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, the Indian Ocean to meet them there, so they did not meet us here. What we've seen since Joe Biden, well, I'm not going to say won the election. Since Joe Biden was put into office, our borders are wide open. That means terrorists are coming. And the problem is not for me. It's for the regular Americans who don't think they're at war with these terrorists, which they are. Just because you don't think you're at war with someone doesn't mean they're not at war with you. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I can meet him again. I don't want regular Americans to meet him in Times Square, but it's coming. And if Kamala Harris gets elected, it's going to be even more wide open. And that is a personal threat to you and your family, to me and my family. The reason I'm voting for Donald Trump is because of the border, period.
Wow. That is very specific. Everyone that I speak to is very concerned about the border. It's probably, other than free speech and, well, there are other things, but the border is, everybody cares about the border. Let me put it that way. Everyone comes back to the border at some point. I'm with you on that. And you're saying that, your intimate interaction with terrorism tells you that this border issue is the single greatest threat facing Americans and America today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, for me personally, just because I have so much experience with terrorists, but I mean, just figure too, fentanyl is killing between 75 and 100,000 Americans per year. And that's barely even talked about. I mean, imagine if climate change was killing anybody a year, which it's not. 0 people are killed by climate change every year, and they just shout it from the rooftops to basically keep our youth dumb and to keep voting for Democrats. Imagine if climate change was killing 75,000 Americans a year. Well, China is huge in the manufacturing and the distribution of fentanyl on both borders, north and south. But a lot of Democrats, especially in California, don't bring that up. Why? Because they're in China's pocket. So there's another problem too. China's our greatest enemy, and they're sending the fentanyl in because China's got this thing where it's as old as I think Sun Tzu when he wrote The Art of War, maybe older, when they said start a fire and then watch it burn from across the river. That's what they're doing. Divide and conquer. China with TikTok and that algorithm are watching as we fight each other. You hate each other. And what they do is they wait until you're done fighting each other, and then they cross the river with fresh troops. That's what China's doing. But people like Eric Swalwell, people like name a congressman in California and see how often they mention China. And I'll save you some time. It's zero because they're on the payroll. And so that's so the border, China. We can get into energy. That's second on my list because energy affects everything else. I think terrorism and the border first, then energy. The lack of energy or what they're trying to do with everything from EVs to nonsense with electric stoves in New York and stuff like that. That's all a direct result of energy, and that's how we're going to be in their pocket. I mean, sure, we want to be carbon neutral. China and India, they don't care. And they're going to just watch us do it, watch us hurt ourselves again. Once we're tired, they cross the river and they take over. And that's another reason. But
you could just go down and tick off all of these issues. And what it comes down to is the Democrat Party is a party of autocracy, of censorship. And I would also say that it is a party of, I believe in the Great Replacement theory, some form of it. It's not just getting votes, which is hugely about getting votes, but there is something very malign and sinister, diabolical about the idea of, say, shipping our men and boys off to foreign wars, the forever wars. That's a big thing for me as well. And then bringing in hundreds of thousands, millions of military-aged men who couldn't care less about your little girls, your wife, your sister, your cousin.
Well, that's the plan. They want chaos. Again, reverting back to keeping it simple, when someone is fleeing war, they bring their families with them when they flee. If someone's going to war, they go alone as men. That's what we're seeing here. If it was that bad in these countries, they're saying they're trying to flee, they would take their families with them. But instead, you have these legions of military-age men coming here. And again, it's for chaos. It's because this is what it's not. It's the uniparty, if anything. I mean, it's easy to broad brush Democrats, but there are Republicans that have been on the Hill for a long time. Like, you got to figure, it's not the person in the White House for 4 years that's the problem. It's the person in the Capitol for 50 years. That's the problem. And nothing changed. Keep voting him in. But the military-age males are coming here, and the reason they're busing these people to different spots is they want to get it to a point where they can have everybody vote. We're seeing it now. Get the undocumented people, whatever they want to call them, they're invaders. Get them driver's licenses. Why? So they can vote. And they'll say it's way too complex. We've already got it in the works so they can vote. And especially in the small town USA, because they're going to generally be red, send more blue voters in there. I mean, look at Texas. Texas is turning into a purple state right now. And that's an issue. If Republicans lose Texas ever, forget about it. You lost.
It's over. And the census counts all of those imports into California. So California just keeps taking a greater share of our Congress because they're redistributing based on that, the census, which includes the migrants, which is inexplicable to me. Back to these men that are coming over the border. As a military man, I am wondering for you, when you go to a foreign country, I like to think of American men as being tenderhearted for that populace. But when I think of military-age men that are not Americans going to most other war zones, this is my bias. I think of them as looking at the populace, not in that tenderness of an American looking at an unfortunate American, and having that and caring about what happens to them. They just don't just die. If you bring in military-age men, and they're talking about even putting them on a pathway to citizenship by giving non-citizen men, putting them into the military, men or women, I suppose. Uh-huh. And they just added the first Somali police officer who's not a citizen in Minnesota, Tim Walz, Minnesota. Are those people are they going to have the same mindset toward meeting me
No,
on the street?
no. Well, with the Somalis, that's a lot of Bill Clinton stuff, because remember back in '93 with Black Hawk Down, we had guys there that got in a big gunfight. But what the Clinton administration was doing, exactly what they're doing right now in Afghanistan and Pakistan, they were bringing Somalis over as escaping a horrible place, which Somalia is. It's one of the most dangerous countries in the world next to Yemen. Once they started bringing here, what happens is if you bring groups of people like that as asylum seekers, as opposed to wanting to become an American and respect the Constitution, what they're going to do is they're going to bring the country they left and they bring it with them. So they bring Sharia law with them. They bring their call to prayer 5 times a day with them. They bring, like a dude will have 3 wives and they have a bunch of kids. And what happens is they just make greater communities, and instead of voting for the Constitution, they vote for right in Somalia. And you get a lot of these Democrats. I mean, you get Ilhan Omar. That's what you get in Congress.
That's right.
She's basically al-Shabaab. And then you got the other one who's Hamas, Rashida. What you get when you start importing that country. When you bring immigrants who want to be Americans, because a lot of people are asylum seekers, but then they bring the jihadis with them, and that's a problem. I mean, look at Minnesota. Like, I think Mondale won Minnesota, didn't he? Didn't Reagan won 49 states? Except, good job, Minnesota. That's why Tim Walz will go to a Michigan game, Michigan, Minnesota, and cheer for Michigan. And he's a governor of Minnesota. He's going to win Minnesota because they just win Minnesota. That's just how it works. Even now, when a lot of the jihadis that live in Minnesota are angry with the Biden administration, they're still going to vote blue. They're going to protest all day long and tear down Princeton and try to change the names of our bases because they're offensive. They're still going to vote blue. That's how it's going to go. So it's just when there are different pockets where a lot of these countries are just taking over. So the short answer is no, they don't care about you. And we, by the way, if we wanted to take over the world and be conquerors, we could have a long time ago. Like, if we want to take everything, all the natural resources out of Ukraine, out of Afghanistan, into Pakistan, we could have. Like, we destroyed Japan and Germany, rebuilt it. We built schools in Afghanistan. No one else does that. Everyone else is a conqueror, and that's how the world works. And they make it seem like we're the only ones that do it. We're the nicest empire in the history of man.
Agreed. And so, to sum up one thing, you said that men who are coming across the border are not bringing their wives, their daughters, their grandmothers, their mothers, but they are bringing Somalia and Guatemala and Venezuela and communist China, the CCP. So they are bringing something, but they are not bringing the requisite family that if you truly wanted to be an American, you would obviously bring your wife.
If you go without your family and just other men, you're not seeking asylum. You're going to war.
Mm-hmm. And the other aspect of what other aspects of your background from war? I mean, I'm really interested in that because that's unique. Somebody I know who really did have boots on the ground in very, very dangerous places, dealing with very, very dangerous people. And we've got back here police officers having to deal with people that do not respect the rule of law. Their lives are being put in danger all the time. How do police officers deal with these guys?
I don't know. And I have nothing but love for law enforcement, because it's ever since the whole defund the police thing. And then now with, edited footage of what's actually going on. I've seen so many police in I used to live in Midtown Manhattan, and I go to New York quite a bit. And when I see them, crimes are committed in front of cops because it's not worth the cops going to jail. If it's a petty, look at what happens in California. You only stole $900 worth of stuff. Fine, go. It's because it's not worth it, because cops don't want to get Derek Chauvin and spend the rest of their lives in prison with people trying to shank them. So cops have a tough gig, and they're recorded all the time, and they don't have the politicians behind them until an election year, because it's defund the police. Oh, until we need the bag. It's like Kamala Harris. Wow, you finally made it to the border too. Good on you, with sunglasses. Aren't you cool? It's just the men and women in blue. I have seen active recruiters in Times Square from Florida police departments recruiting NYPD. Come to Florida, we'll give you the benefits. You'll get your own car. People actually respect you. Up in New York, it's a way different story, and I don't know. Plus, you have people wearing Hamas headbands and carrying Hamas flags saying, we are Hamas, and you can't do anything about it. Imagine if Al-Qaeda did that on 9/12 in New York. It would have been a different story. But now, because we're so weak, we don't teach history and we teach our kids nonsense. It's almost like it gets rolled up into, well, America's still bad. It's like even in the when they talk about the founding fathers and Gen Z saying, well, they were all racist, they were all whatever. You know that the founding fathers were Gen Z of that time. And a lot of them were 19, 20 years old. You know what they did? Instead of complaining, they started the greatest country in the history of the world. But people have forgotten that because all they tell them is racist, 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 and divide us up into different things, and America's bad. And America's so great that we let them say that because some people on a certain side have freedom of speech. But if you start spitting facts, that's when good guys get arrested. That's when good guys get banned from social media.
Excuse me. I just heard John Kerry, and I transcribed the quote, say the First Amendment is one of our biggest problems, and social media, and that we cannot govern. Governing is so hard now. And people, he actually said this, he's speaking about you and me, they just go and they listen to, like they go to one news source. In other words, the fact that we have a choice and then we find news sources that we trust and we stick with them. I don't just go to one place, but that's a problem. And he says the people that used to be able to tell us what is right or wrong, that's no longer like the NBC's, ABC's, CBS's, New York Times, and Washington Post. And he was saying that at WEF. This is a brand new quote from him.
Of course he was at the World Economic Forum. Because, I mean, John Kerry's been a piece of shit since he lied about Vietnam. But I would ask him, okay, you can't govern. What's your position again? Because you're not elected. What are you're the border czar? How's your private jet when you go to Davos with every other person that's lying to us? Because people like John Kerry, what they do is they sit around in a room and they call us what the communists used to in Russia, useful idiots. So they know there's a bunch of us out here, and they have these little meetings in Davos when, by the way, they're eating the best steak in the world, even though cow farts apparently ruin the planet. And all they do is talk about, and I'm not making this up, how do we keep them in line? How do we give them enough stuff just so they don't revolt? The First Amendment is the greatest thing that this country was built upon. Freedom of speech. You should be, now there can be consequences for what you say, but you shouldn't be jailed for saying something the police state doesn't like. That's Stasi stuff. That's East Germany stuff. And that's what they're trying to get us. John Kerry, like the rest of them, they're communists. Their parents were communists. They raised communists, and that's what you have now. And that's the only danger of freedom of speech and the freedom to vote is you might believe some of these morons and then vote for them. Like right now, it's like when you ask people, well, why aren't you voting for Trump? Well, I hate him. Okay, tell me why you hate him. Well, he's mean. Okay, other than mean and name calling, what don't you like about him? Silence. Okay, name one policy about Kamala Harris you like. Silence. But then they're told Trump bad, Trump orange, Trump felon, and then vote for Kamala Harris because they hated her 3 months ago, and now she's a godsend. And it's simply because, again, what they teach the useful idiots is what they do. That's why public school is doing that. Public school doesn't teach you anything. It teaches you to stop what you're doing when the bell rings, get in line and listen to the guy. You're a little worker. And John Kerry. He can't govern. You mean you can't rule the populace?
And this Democrat ideology is very much for censorship because, well, he was actually referring to it as this is why this election is so important. He says, we can't get enough done fast enough. Woodrow Wilson started with that. That was a Woodrow Wilson thing. Yeah. He was one bad dude.
In the history of presidents, very closely followed by Joe Biden.
Right.
But see, the issue is because he talks about, he was in the Navy during Vietnam, and all you had was Walter Cronkite. So he's telling you the truth. But then you start to the system started to get interrupted the more that we were able to talk, because the way it was supposed to work was, okay, you got George Bush, even though they say he stole the election in 2020. Then you get up to 2008. That is going to be Hillary Clinton. Definitely Hillary Clinton. Barack Obama comes out of nowhere. That throws the system off a little bit, even though he was left of what they wanted. And then, okay, Barack Obama, he's going to win his second term, 8 years. Then it's going to be Hillary Clinton. Then you get Donald Trump. And here is where the establishment freaks out. Democrats were so against war until potentially Trump could come in, uncover Ukraine, and watch all of the money laundering that's been going on there for decades. And it's the same names. These are the same people, the same Clintons, the same Bushes. And they're telling us this is the most important election of our lifetime. Well, this one is, because there's finally a guy who can fund himself. This is why all the elites, the intel, all those generals that are going for Kamala Harris, if Trump gets in, he will show you. He will. I mean, they don't even want us to. They don't even want to tell us what really happened to John F. Kennedy. The only establishment that was working at the time that's still alive when Kennedy was killed is the system itself. They don't want you to know what the system is actually doing. Trump might tell us. He had a chance in his first term, but I think he was playing nice. This time, if they don't cheat again, this is going to be it's going to be bad for a lot of people who have been cheating you the whole time.
That's why I'm so worried about him. When he did say that, he said, I didn't do it the last time because I had someone. Now I think that they were probably talking to the CIA and advised him not to do it. That's his impression now. But he says, I will release those things. And other people are saying that the reason it's so important to release that is that once everybody sees the truth about Kennedy and the government's involvement in it, it will change. You know, it'll be one of those paradigm shifts, and you can't go back from a paradigm shift. And
I was just going to say, yeah, John F. Kennedy came in. He was one of the last presidents to say, I'm going to change the system. I'm going to expose it. And they killed him. And now they already tried to kill him twice. Well, I mean, thank God they haven't found out like a professional sniper. But their plans were there. And it's, I mean, even look at the Secret Service. And the issue too, when I say law enforcement and I love them, I don't want a broad brush stroke when I say the bad intel. There are so many great people working everywhere, FBI, CIA, Secret Service, State Department. The problem is the leadership is all in Washington, D.C. And those are the swamp monsters. That's the problem. Even with the Pentagon. The Pentagon should fire their general officers and put like an 04 or 05 in charge of the whole thing. And like I even said, hire me when Trump gets elected. I'll fire 80% of the people in the Pentagon on the first day. The issue is the swamp. The issue is the government employees. The issue is the system. These are people that they get paid every 2 weeks, no matter what happens, because your tax dollars are going to them. And so you can't fire a government employee. The system, I call it the self-licking ice cream cone. It's good for itself, but you wouldn't miss it if it was gone. It's like when people say, I love when they say too, well, the government's going to shut down. You know what? Good. Shut it all down.
What is the problem with that? Firstly, why do they decide that the things that are going to shut down are the very ones that people would be most concerned about? How many agencies and sub-agencies and sub-agencies are out there that you could literally eliminate overnight and no one would know other than the people who are giving and accepting the payola and perpetuating their own living and lifestyle? But they'll say, well, you know, let's take the most important aspect of government and we'll shut that down.
No, I mean, they say, well, the military won't get paid. Well, then pay them. But get rid of the EPA, get rid of the IRS, get rid of the three-letter agencies where no one was elected, get rid of the NGOs, get rid of them all. And like, look at Twitter when it turned into X. How many people did Elon Musk fire? It's working better than ever. It's because it's getting rid of and they just built how many billion-dollar headquarters for the FBI in D.C. It should not be in D.C. There's so many things wrong with D.C. You shouldn't be able to leave as a 4-star general and immediately go work for DynCorp or Boeing. There should be a 10-year minimum, 7-year minimum before you can go do that, because they become political at a certain level of officers. There should be term limits. There's no it's being proposed. The problem is, who are the ones voting on term limits? The lawmakers, and they're happy as they can be. It's like, it's almost amazing too. It's like if you get elected to Congress overnight, you become the best stock picker in the world. It's crazy how that works. But the corruption's all right there in front of us. And once you show it to the useful idiots, someone bans you, someone shadow bans you. You can't show it on social media. All of a sudden, you're disinformation. All of a sudden, you're a homegrown terrorist. When we are at a point now where we have to lie because the truth will offend stupid people, and that's it. I mean, again, keep it simple. You should be able to tell. I've told the truth and lost work over it just by telling it. Not even insulting everyone, which I'm capable of doing too.
I think that going into the Pentagon is, well, national security, which is our border issue, and it's also military and foreign wars. And so I think of somebody who's worked within the system, that they understand the difference between that four-star general who, like you said, is going to go and work for a defense contractor right afterwards, and the guys with boots on the ground. Now, I'm not saying that every guy in the military has the ability to dissect the problems with government in the military and solve that. But somebody like you, for instance, let's say that we asked President Trump to put you in to the cleanup crew, maybe working for Elon's department or somewhere else, to go in and really change some things in the Pentagon, in the military. What would make the biggest difference right away? Eliminating DEI? What would it be?
Yeah, DEI is a big problem too, and all that. And the thing about it too, the difference between the leadership and the men and women on the ground. When I was in the Navy for just under 17 years, I worked with a lot of different people, every race, every gender, every sex. That never bothered any one of us. It never even was brought up. Everyone there is just green. The reason you get camouflage and the same haircut is because it's uniform. We're all uniform. No, but right now what the military is doing is they're trying to make everyone their own person. That's bullshit. That's not what the military does. That's not at all what we do. So you get rid of that. And I think just the way I would describe it is the movie Office Space, when the two Bobs come in and all they do is sit every employee down and say, what is it you do here? And then explain it to me. And if it's not good, guess what? You're fired. If you can fire guys in the military for not getting a BS jab, you should be able to fire them for incompetence. But they can't do that. I mean, look at a prime example is the VA hospitals. The doctors, the healthcare providers are incredible. I've had surgery at the VA. I've dealt with the doctors, but I've also had the same doctors say, hey, you're in recovery. I kid you not. Don't fall asleep. This is after surgery. Don't fall asleep with your iPhone on your chest because someone will steal it. That's not a healthcare provider. It's one of the government employees. The hardest part of the VA is getting past the government bureaucracy to get to your appointment, because these government workers are there. They're going to get paid. They know what time they get off and what time their lunch break is. They don't care about anything else, and that's a problem. You fire those people. You find someone who wants to be there. Find out why they want to be there and hire them. But there's so much nonsense everywhere. And it's the leadership, it's the bureaucracy, it's Washington, D.C. When people's income tax is unconstitutional. We pay a ton of it, and it's going up and up and up. And they'll always say the same thing about taxes. Well, what about the stuff you need? I'm pretty sure we had cars, and we had roads, and we had boats way before income tax. We managed to pull it off, but that money's not even going to that stuff. Where's the money that we're sending? We're taxed on everything. Taxed on money that we make, taxed on money that we pay, taxed on property we already own. Gas prices are way up. A lot of that's taxes. Taxes are everywhere. But again, people are too busy saying, well, I better check TikTok and see what the Kardashians. Why would I pay attention to my country? That's where I'm at.
I think about, amen to everything, brother, there. I think about foreign wars, the forever wars. And I will say this, I'm not against war in that defense, self-defense is a natural right. Mm-hmm. And so to just say a blanket statement, I'm against war or all wars, would be wrong for me. But I am so against these forever wars. And I am so against going into wars, not anticipating winning them and not having that not be the goal, like we have been doing to Israel for the past 11 months. And I'm also against the fact that we go in and we begin social engineering. I heard about the or social engineering and sort of like nation building, democracy building, and all of that. And I believe that staying with a Kamala Harris and a Tim Walz, we're going to continue down that road indefinitely. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, they're part of the deep state establishment, the swamp.
The last time we declared war was 1942, and believe it or not, it was against Hungary, Bulgaria, and Romania. This is after we went in against Italy, Germany, and Japan. That's the last time we declared war, but we managed to go to Korea. We managed to go to Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, the first Gulf War, Somalia, Iraq, Afghanistan, again, Ukraine. If you've noticed, we've since the Second World War, and the Pentagon, by the way, was built for the Second World War, and we should have got rid of it after that, but it was a War Department. But there's always a war There's always a threat of war, because with fear, if you can keep people afraid, you can slowly take their liberties away, which is what they're doing. 9/11, prime example. You get the Department of Homeland Security, the Patriot Act. Sound good for about 3 days until you realize now we can spy on you. Because why do you think we always leave everything overseas? Why did we leave everything in Afghanistan? Why were we throwing helicopters off carriers in Vietnam? You know why? Because we can just make more. Because my buddy over at this place, we can sign $100 billion contract right there. We can just make more. So the threat of war, we need more. I mean, granted, we need defense, but all the stuff they're building now, Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, was just in Scranton at a munitions depot where they're building it. He's signing bombs to be dropped on Russians. These are Democrats. I thought we were just giving them our surplus. No, we're making more stuff. Just because a conflict ends doesn't mean the contract did. And this is what the deep state in D.C. is doing. This is why people like Lindsey Graham, who's a Republican, the second the shot was fired at Trump, he goes, Iran. It was Iran. Because he wants to go to war with Iran. Why? How many buddies does he have making the drones, making the missiles, making the bombs, the 155 shells, the ships? We need more ships. And this is because of the military-industrial complex. I mean, we should be able to fight when we need to, but there's always right now. It's like, why is Ukraine, which is not a NATO ally, how is that defending democracy? You think Zelensky's, I mean, his wife got a hell of a lot of nice jewelry. He's got a couple nice yachts, and that's because we can't even find the money there. It costs $1 billion a year to pass to audit the Pentagon. We've never passed since inception. Where's the money going and why? And nobody cares. There's no accountability. Nobody gets fired. Everyone gets reelected.
Well, and Zelensky's wife bought, well, I may misquote this. It was at least a $400,000 sports car with our money.
Of course.
$400,000 sports car. I'm going to ask you, would you send troops to our border?
We don't need troops at our border because even a wall is not going to be built. It's such a long border. What we need, so troops, not necessarily, but I would change all the policies and have mass deportations, because if you get rid of the incentives, and by the way, that's on the other side too, because a lot of politicians are lying to these people saying you come here and get work. There's no work to be found, but there will be federal vouchers 3 times worth the rent, so they can raise the rent so locals, if Americans can't afford their rent, who do they depend on? The government. And that's what wants, expansion. It's all a plan. None of this, I talk bad about politicians. Nobody there is stupid. This is all on purpose. It's all planned. And you got to give the Democrats credit for being in lockstep. They're very good politicians, just horrible people.
And would you, agreed, would you declare the cartels and their gangs here in America as terrorist organizations?
That's a difficult one. I think the conversation will be had is, what can we do to the government of Mexico to keep them in check down there? We don't need them here. The cartels, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, too big. So this has been quite a pleasure. I can't wait to have you on again.